Welcome back, internet folk and friends alike. Today is going to be that Feats video that we mentioned that we were going to be doing.
It is.
We are going to be going over 5 of our would recommend feats for a player coming in for the first time, maybe right out of the good old 5th edition PHB.
And a couple other ones that either go with that one, like if you take one, maybe look at taking the other one when you get to that point, or ones that instead of taking this one for a spellcaster, take this one instead for a fighter, that kind of thing. Just a couple of tangential ones, but
honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's
honorable mentions.
If not A, then B.
Right.
So
is A squared plus B squared is C squared?
it's supposed to be.
Isn't that Pythagorean theorem?
It is.
Man, I remember school.
Do we want to tell them about Graham's number?
Google it.
Google Graham's number day 9. It's amazing.
It's good stuff. All right. So let's get into some feats. So right off the bat, just kind of setting up what we got going on. We each pick kind of like 3 mains that we'd recommend picking depending on different classes and stuff like that. Some of these will work very much with any class or any race. It's not going to matter. If you pair one of these that I'm going to pick with another race, then it's super broken, more so than it already is.
And even on top of that, just going into what feats are at every so many level incremental, depending on 4. What class you have. Some are 4.
Fighter gets them earlier.
Fighter gets an extra one in there. You get what is an ability score improvement, and feats are an optional choice instead of ability score improvement. Not everybody uses them because if you combo it a certain way, it can make things pretty busted. But that's what we're going to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, and we're here to obviously break Dungeons and Dragons because that's everybody's goal. Because every player wants to piss off the DM.
Power
Facts.
Well, let me put my papers away.
Oh,
Don't apologize. That was awesome. That's how you do it.
I mean, the DM's the friend. They're supposed to have fun too.
True.
If they get pissed off, then it's kind of on them.
I mean, it's true. Not really like piss them off, but make them use their noodles.
Yeah.
All right. So right off the bat,
Test those waters.
we are going to go ahead and I'm going to throw one out there for us spellcasters. Warlock represent. I am going to go with everybody's favorite, and I'm going to go with Warcaster. So right here in your ye old PHB, I'm going to read it verbatim. So you have advantage on all Constitution saving throws that you make to maintain concentration on basically your spell checks. So that's super good in the fact that if you're ever casting a spell that has concentration, like a constant effect that's going to linger essentially, you get advantage on those checks. I mean, it's going to help because having advantage on rolls in raw in general, depending on how these advantages hold, some people do, like in our game, we do like the +2, but true advantage, that extra D20 is always going to be beneficial. And if you're, I use the term like a battle mage or somebody who wants to use like both spells and weapons at the same time. Also kitten.
Yeah, he comes up here as well.
You can actually cast the somatic portions of the spells with your hands full with weapons and shield, which is cool too. Because traditionally you wouldn't be able to move your hands or do that stuff according to the rules.
A little bit of that depends on how closely you follow the rules, because most DMs are like, oh, I don't care.
That or, hang on, I have a spell focus. It's fine. My hands are full.
It's fine, whatever. Just do it.
But
it's fine.
In my personal opinion, the best part of this is being able to use your reaction instead of having to use the ever so cliche attack of opportunity to be able to cast a spell, which can be super good.
For warlocks, that really plays into Eldritch Blast for the reaction. For other classes, for the concentration stuff, the 2 big ones I can think of offhand, Druid, because Druids have a ton for concentration, and Cleric. Bards a little bit, Sorcerers, Wizards a little bit, but those 2 are the big ones for concentration. So the
only caveat being that the spell has to basically be cast instant or take 1 action.
Right.
Let me just make sure I'm saying that right.
Oh, I meant for the advantage on concentration checks.
Yeah. I was talking about the reaction.
Right. Yeah, that one's a big one for Warlock, because then you can react.
Casting time of 1 action for the reaction.
Yeah, you can react Eldritch Blast, and it's fine.
But it doesn't say it has to be a cantrip. So if we start playing into the broken side of things, theoretically, and this is going to take me into another one that I'll just segue because it'll fit perfectly into. because depending on how strict and how rules is written you're going, that extra spell that you can cast with Warcaster can completely lock somebody down. So if you've got a spell that's going to, I don't know, stun or incapacitate or immobilize somebody,
You shall not pass!
as long as it's going to fall within those criterias, you can use that. Which then at that point, you have now given your spellcaster my next choice, which is going to be Sentinel. Because anybody that is a melee fighter in Dungeons and Dragons, I love you, but if you don't take Sentinel, you're probably doing it wrong. So basically what this is going to allow you to do is any character that attacks you, or let me try that again. If you're engaged with another character, and they try to disengage, they still have that opportunity attack against them, which is really, really rad. Beyond that, also, when you use your reaction to use Sentinel as well, you drop their speed to 0, meaning they can't move and they are stuck there.
Until their next turn.
Yep. And the other thing that's really rad about it, too, is if you have, say, you're kind of adjacent or within 5 feet of another player, and that crony/goon attacks your friendly PC, you can then still use your reaction to take that opportunity attack out of range. And this is when we're going to segue to, I think, one of JD's things, because you can further break this with go for it.
So Sentinel triggers on opportunity attacks or whenever they attack somebody else that's in range. There's lots of uses for Sentinel. There's lots of times where you get to use it if you're paying attention to opportunity attacks. If your DM plays things to where opportunity attacks are a real thing, yeah, go for Sentinel. Outside of that, the best way to capitalize on it is Polearm Master.
There it is.
Because it's too good. It's too even if you don't take Sentinel, you take Polearm Master. Because polearms have a 10-foot reach. Polearm Master says when you take the attack action, when you attack with a glaive, halberd, or quarterstaff, use the bonus action to make a melee attack with the opposite end of the weapon. The die for this is a D4, deals bludgeoning damage. When you are wielding a glaive, halberd, pike, or quarterstaff, other creatures provoke an opportunity attack when they enter your range.
So they just have to be passing by, dude.
So in a 10-foot circle around you, anybody that moves through it, you can go, if you have Sentinel and Polearm Master, you go, I would like to react. You can't move.
But I'm in 10-foot range. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I poked you. You can't move. Doesn't matter how much damage you do. You're just locked down. Or you can let a couple go by and get the one that you want or whatever. It's a really good combo. Backing up just a little bit, if you're not playing a spellcaster, a couple honorable mentions that we have compared to the Warcaster.
Spell Sniper for sure.
Spell Sniper. Tavern Brawler, I think, is a good one that gets overlooked.
That could just be fun, man. Just sitting there, you look around, like, oh, I'm in a situation, I know what to use. All right, I'm going to look for anything that I can use as an improvised weapon, and I get to use it with proficiency.
I'll kill you with my teacup.
Oh, I have a book. I'm going to throw the book, close enough. Or I'm going to run and hit them with the book, and then I'm going to grapple. Because anytime you hit them with an improvised or unarmed, you can grapple. Shield Master is a really good one that gets overlooked because it essentially gives you an evasive. Makes it to where if you take a dex save, instead of taking half damage, you can take no damage kind of thing. So essentially, if you take both, you can just punch somebody or grab a cup off the table and hit somebody with it and grapple them. And as long as you have your shield on your other hand, have somebody cast a fireball on you, and then you're fine. And everything around you is not.
It's not broken.
No. Dual weapon fighting is a good one for that kind of thing. I think Great Weapon Fighter, after looking at it again, probably overrated. Not that great. Yeah, talk about your last one.
All right, my last one is one that I have only taken with a specific class. I only took it with a rogue. But in hindsight, you can use it with pretty much anything in this entire game.
Honestly, if it wasn't for wanting to be thematic or fit a role more more carefully, more specifically, I'd take it on. It'd be
On
like
everything?
level 4, everything.
Yeah.
Or human variant level 1, everything takes this.
So the feat that we're talking about is lucky, because who doesn't want a chance to reroll things where they like, I don't like the outcome of that. So lucky. What this does is you have 3 luck points. Whenever you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can spend 1 luck point to roll an additional d20. You can choose to spend 1 of your luck points after you roll the die, but before the outcome is determined. You choose which one of the d20s is used for the attack, roll, ability check, or saving throw.
So you don't even have to use the last one. You can just be like, oh, that one rolled even worse. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna use
I'll
the
keep
first
the other one. But wait, there's more.
Of course there is.
You can also spend 1 luck point with an attack roll when an attack roll is made against you. Roll a d20 and then choose whether the attack uses the attacker's roll or yours. Basically, what that means is you can spend one of these 3 points to, let's say JD's DMing and he's rolling against me. He rolls his d20. That's a 17. Oh, that's a hit.
Even better. That's a 20.
Oh, that is good, because it doesn't say you can't negate.
That's a 20.
Yeah. Okay, I want to roll. Oh, that's a 4. I want to take my roll instead.
Cool. By all means.
So I guess really depending on how you guys want to rule that at the table, I didn't even think about that. But you could negate critical attacks. I mean, unless you roll a 20, which would suck on your part too. But
And you could negate critical attacks against you. You could negate roll-offs, like skill checks, where they roll higher than you. Like, I feel like Lucky's more of a defensive thing than an offensive thing, because it just, whatever the DM rolls, you can just be like, we'll see about that.
and you get all these back after a long rest.
Exactly. So you have 3, and then you get them all 3 back after a long rest.
And if you pair this with one specific race,
So halflings have one where you can re-roll any one that you roll. So anytime you roll a 1, you just get a free re-roll, which go really well together, because then you don't have to spend your lucky points to re-roll ones. Great weapon fighting kind of does the same thing, but you have to be using a heavy weapon, that kind of stuff. So there's a few re-roll mechanics in it.
I had a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So in the other part of this right here for luck, it also says if more than one creature spends a luck point, they cancel each other out.
Yes.
Have you ever been in a situation where your creatures or your monsters have luck points? Or aren't those just... And at what point is it just the DM fudging a roll?
It depends. I feel like that's more tied to if, say, the rogue wants to steal from the ranger or whatever,
Okay.
and they've both taken lucky, and one's like,
Okay.
oh, well, I'll use my luck point because I lost, and the other one goes, I'm gonna use my luck point, and you still lose.
Because then it's a wash. Okay. Okay. So I guess that makes a lot more sense. So given the fact that, players themselves, I mean, it's a good feat, so obviously more people are going to take it, and if you have 2 people they're spending the point, it just washes to a straight
I think
roll
it's
off.
partially them in their playtesting that they play tested extensively. They found if one person took it, they could fuck with other people, because they would just be like, I'm going to do this to you. Okay, I'm going to roll. Oh, you got really good here. Let me re-roll this. Oh, I got bad. Let me re-roll mine, and just spend luck points to manipulate the rolls against other people.
And there is a big caveat and something I'd definitely be very careful of when you're using something like this. Don't be a dick. Don't remove agency from other players, because forcing other players that you're supposed to be working with in this cooperative experience to basically combat each other and fight against each other because you as a player want to do what you want to do.
Even if you're the DM, don't be that guy, because it's really easy to do when you're the DM.
Be that guy.
Be that guy. Just be no, you're going to do what I want you to do kind of thing. Or I'm going to do what I want to do against you, or you two are going to do against each other, or whatever.
Chugga. Woo woo.
Yeah. So I've been pretty quiet. You've talked about yours. I think Polar Master is amazing, but I also am very partial to pole weapons, because it's just a personal... It's kind of my niche. It's kind of my thing. That or unarmed, or like weird like darts.
Yeah.
Because then it's, I can with you dart, or I can throw it, or like I like the weird things that nobody usually uses, like whips. Nobody uses whips. I love whips. I think whips are great. Also, that also falls into range.
Grappling, range,
Sentinel.
slashing.
Sentinel with a whip. 10-foot range. Yeah.
That's how you break Sentinel, dude.
That being said, there are two that a lot of people overlook. I've been seeing them more frequently in the suggested. One of them more frequently in the suggested on forums and Reddit and stuff like that. We'll start with that one, and then we'll get to my personal favorite that I think most anybody should take, and it's almost an auto-include for me for everything. The first one is Healer. Something people overlook so often, but it saves spell slots. It makes it to where anybody can heal a little bit. Healer says, you're an able physician, allowing you to mend wounds quickly and get your allies back into the fight. You gain the following benefits. When you use a healer's kit to stabilize a dying creature, that creature also regains 1 hit point. As an action, you can spend 1 use of the healer's kit to tend to a creature and restore 1d6 plus 4 hit points to it, plus an additional hit points equal to the creature's maximum number of hit dice. So 1d6 plus 4 plus their level. Creature can't regain hit points from this feat again until it finishes a short or long rest.
So just looking at that, just seeing how it's written, like if you take that and you utilize it,
You are a combat medic.
you're a combat medic, and you can keep, provided you can get there in time, you can keep a player from dying
You can keep a
and
player
spawn
from
them
dying.
back. You can bring them back.
You can bring them back with 1 HP. And then on top of that, anybody who takes a chunk, you can just walk over to them, bandage them up 1 time per long rest to everybody.
And
Protect the wound by bandaging securely.
And
in the
depending on how the DM and the table rules potions and stuff like that,
Yep.
I'm a firm believer, and I see no problem with it. I think being able to take a potion should be a free action or a bonus action at the most,
I agree.
instead of burning a full action. So, yeah, it's a really, really good one. I didn't think about that one. That's really good.
So you get extra HP on your level based on your constitution. Everybody does this. That's also retroactive.
Tough.
So every time you go up a +1 in constitution, on the actual bonus, retroactively you get that many extra HP for whatever level are. So say you're level 12 and you put your plus whatever into constitution and it gives you a +3. Well, you just got 12 more hit points because you went up to a +3 instead of a +2. Super cool. There's a feat that does that.
Yep.
Only it doubles it.
That's dumb.
Very few people take it. I don't know why, because it's for literally anybody. It's 40 HP at level 20.
Yeah, it's super good. I have taken it in, I want to say 1 or 2 games that I played for sure. It really helped me out because my hit die HP roll were butts.
Especially when you roll for it.
They were super butts, and I was like, well, I'm going to game the system a little bit. I got a super high constitution. Ryan, where'd you get HP? I took tough.
Yep.
But your roll sucked. I took tough. That's why.
So tough says your hit point maximum increases by an amount equal to twice your level when you gain this feat. Whenever you gain a level after, your hit point maximum increases by an additional 2. So for every level that you have and every level that you gain going forward after you take this, you get 2 extra HP, which doesn't sound like a lot.
But if you take it later in the game, though,
If you take it, even if you take it early, it stacks.
well, it's gonna stack. Like you're gonna get less on the front end and over
on the back end.
on the back end.
Or you take it late and you get all of it at once.
Yeah, exactly.
For bards, for wizards, for sorcerers, or for rogues, even
Them squishy fellers.
anything that has like a D8 for the HP die, it's amazing. Because it's even if you take the flat, instead of taking 5, you're automatically getting 7.
And
Plus
it
your con,
again,
so.
it's all gonna depend on how they rule the hit die and the HP gains.
Yeah.
Some they're like, well, you can roll for it, and we'll take. Or you can roll, and whatever you roll above the average, you can take, or you can take the average, or whatever you roll is just what you get.
And
I've played games like that, and that's why I took tough.
Exactly. And I will say, if you go to looking for it, there are on the Homebrew Feats site that we posted whenever we were talking about homebrew stuff. There's like 2 or 3 other tough feats,
Yeah.
and they're like one of them is a +3, but you have to have X amount in your constitution. Like you have to have X. I think it's like 18 con to take it, or something like that. One's a +1, and you only have to have like 10 con to take it, or something like that. But there's a way that you can stack it to where you have like, oh, I just get a bonus 6 HP per level.
I
Every
think
level.
my race, my Asmar has, I think, just a +1,
Yeah,
just by default.
It was part of your patron stuff being a warlock, and I want to say it's one of the packs.
Yeah,
Or it's
yeah,
one
because
of the,
we
it's
have
either
a
a pact or a patron. That
we have
gives
a
that.
modified version of a hex lock.
Yeah.
Of a hexblade. So, but there are some really, really good ones other than what there is in the book. But we just decided that we were going to kind of go what's on here. It's kind of just a starting point for somebody that's trying to get into D&D and stuff like that. I love the books and I love reading them and just being able to soak in that content. There is obviously going to be a lot more you can look at when you start looking at like UA and other book expansions from Dungeons and Dragons, and we'll get into some of those later. But we just want to talk about this. This is a good old raw 5th edition book.
And if you're like me and you like to make stuff for your players, these all have bullet points inside of them. Like each feat will have 2 or 3 bullet points or 2 or 3 sentences where it's you get this and then you also get this. Take one of those, put it on an enchanted item.
yeah,
Take one thing from Shield Master and put it on a shield and be like, oh, y'all find this shield. It has this on it. It lets you do this.
it's got a feat, pretty much.
Kind of, yeah. Or just take the whole feat and be like, oh, you find boots and they give you the athlete feat or they give you the agile feat or whatever it is.
At which point I'm going to call back to 2 or 3 videos ago for homebrewing. Because that's what you've done at that point, and you've gone full
You've made
circle.
But yeah, have fun with it. Most of the feats in the book I'd say it's about half and half. Don't have a stat bonus on it. Still a firm believer in every feat should have a +1 on it because there's no reason it doesn't. All that being said, though, yeah, Sundays, 4
p.m. Pacific. Twitch.tv/Dungeons and Dopes.
somewhere up here floating.
I'm at Just Chambo on the Twitterverse.
I'm at JD and Dopes.
Yep, that is you. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay awesome, be excellent to each other, and love each other. We're out.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
I know you were like, oh, and this segues into this, and I'm like, I had a couple things to add. It's cool. I'll get to it later.